Welcome back to All Right Podcast here. You have Elijah alongside Grant. We're going to hop into, a little bit of Detroit Lions. Obviously, NFL season never fully stops. We are in, obviously, week or two before the Super Bowl. Playoffs are kind of gearing to wrap up here. A lot of draft stuff happening, a lot of players, highlight tapes coming out and mock drafts. So, we're going to kind of live in that world as well. A lot of draft capital this upcoming draft. And, we're going to focus on kind of the key players that we need throughout the team to kind of get us to that next step, get us into the playoffs, get us a playoff victory. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to start off first, but I know we both agree it's on the defensive side of the ball. We should load up, front to back.
Yeah.
What positions on defense? I know we singled out one for this particular podcast, but in general, what do you think the highest need would be?
Yeah, and I think overall, definitely want to give Brad Holmes, a lot of credit. Had about 6-7 guys drafted last year. I think they all saw the field in some capacity. Shows we were able to hit on, some of them, a few of them ended up being starters. Two of them ended up being on the, all rookie defensive team. So we're in a good spot. We at least have like a couple potential cornerstones, that we can take in the next year, build up they can, off season, get right, get more comfortable with the defense and everything and hit the ground running next year. I think this year, we still got to make a lot of upgrades. I looked at the depth chart as far as, D-line. I think they're starting to fill out, quite a bit. But I will say, I think personally, you look at a lot of the teams that were in the playoffs and just how stout some of the defensive lines are. I still think we got to add a little more juice there for sure. I think especially like, D-line, more like the interior. We had quite a hard time stopping the run throughout the year. So I do feel like that's a need. And then also, I don't care who's back there. Deion Sanders is back there at corner. In today's NFL, you can't cover any. People they're gonna be open
Right,
3, 4, 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Based on the offense. So I think me personally, that's where we just need to focus our attention at least on these first couple picks in the first round. Obviously you want to, as the combine starts to come up and everything, and we start to get these guys' numbers and all the cool, pretty shit that everybody likes to drool over. That'll give us more of an idea of where some of these players will fall and where they'll be available or unavailable at what number or what whatever draft pick. But I do think D-line, that's like top priority, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I would second that. I would second that as far as that is how you continue to set the tone. As far as building on the momentum that you already have with Hutch and just the success that he had this year with, I believe he was, if not at right around like what, 8+ sacks, 3 interceptions, very disruptive. I know he had like 40 or 50 quarterback rushes in the mix, and that's with him having kind of a fairly steep learning curve, but came on as the year went on. So I think just with him being an anchor of the defense, and a lot of the other pieces that you had flashes throughout the year, I think you can really build upon that. And I agree with you. That starts, I think, with continuing to build that defensive line. You throw another stud in there, and you're quickly, let's say, the heavens gates open and Jalen Carter falls to us at 6. I think that's the beginning of one of the better young defensive lines in the entire NFL, and a team that people fear going in and week out, and it's similar to the offensive line and the running back. The defensive line and the rest of the unit is improved. If the defensive line is disrupting everything and manhandling that line of scrimmage, all the corners look better, the linebackers look better, safeties look better. Very similar to if you have an offensive line that's just manhandling the defensive opponents. The running backs that are maybe average now are Pro Bowlers. The quarterbacks that may be average are now Pro Bowlers. Jared Goff, Jamal Williams with one of the better offensive lines in the whole NFL. So I think you mimic that on the defensive side of the ball. But I know this time around in particular, we're focusing on another big spot of the defense, and I think that would be cornerback. And We're gonna go systematically player by player. So we defensive line is one of the top of that list, probably the top of the list. Second, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, would be cornerback. And depending on how the dice fall, maybe a linebacker. But I'd say I don't know if any for what we're looking at. I think it might be a stretch to take any of these guys at six. With that
Mm-hmm.
sixth pick, the Rams pick that we happen to have. I don't know if any of these names I necessarily like at six. I think you can get it would be a bit of a stretch to take any one of them that early. Obviously, anybody can come out there and run that 4-3-1 and
Change some things.
and move up 3, 4, 5 spots. But just looking at obviously this is all raw data, layman's terms. The eye test from what I've seen, a lot of these guys throughout the Big Ten season or conference championship games, things of that nature. With the eye test, there's a couple of guys that I think we can key in the first round, second round, and later rounds. Yeah, so I don't know if you want to start first, but I have about seven dudes I think we could try to target in various rounds.
Yeah.
Be a real difference maker, and obviously this is first variation. We'll kind of change as information comes in, change as we continue to learn about players and things of that nature. But I think a lot of these guys, regardless of where they ultimately go, will be playmakers in the NFL for years to come.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'll let you start off. I just want to piggyback and just, kind of say too, I feel like just with these corners, you're watching Aaron Glenn, how he was trying to play defense, kind of start the year off. You saw a lot of like cover zero to where we was sending the house and had like our corners, in a lot of like press man situations where they, were losing quite a bit, unfortunately. And then as the year went on, he was able to dial it back a little bit and, be a little more conservative on the side of things. But I think, what's going to be important about with some of these corners is, finding guys that can literally sit on a man and, maybe travel a little bit or, goal is to essentially be able to lock down a certain, like a third of the field to make it to where, you got the defense almost playing, they right hand dominant, or offense, got to play like left handed, kind of take them away from what they want to be able to do. So I think overall, the goal is just to be able to, find somebody that fits and not reaching. We already got Okuda 3 years ago in top 5. My opinion, I don't love that's almost like us getting a receiver, 2-3 years in a row back in the day. We keep going to the well, something's not working there. I think we gotta be a little more strategic on how we're, building this team out. So yeah, that being said, I'll give you the floor to, talk through some of your people that you like.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I'll start out with the first round guys, and I think we can kind of go, a little bit of banter back and forth. But I think I would imagine we both have this guy at the top of our list, a Big Ten guy. If you spend any time on Twitter, football, or football Twitter, you'll see the name, hear about him, and that would be Witherspoon from Illinois. We were talking about him last night, looking at the stats. And I think this is another, like I said, somebody that you would want to target with that 18th pick. With the momentum I think he has as a player, and depending on how his combine goes, somebody might fall in love with him and take him before the 18th pick. That's being honest. And obviously, we would have to figure out. We moved up in the draft last year, but we would have to figure out whether that's something we want to do, circle back and try to move up if we do fall in love with him. But I think he might be a guy that a player falls in love with, or a team falls in love with. But still some of the stats that you sent last night, but a lot of 22 catches the whole entire year throughout playing in the Big Ten. You got to imagine 13, 14 games. You're averaging not even probably less than 2 catches a game on you in the Big Ten, where you're going to come against some studs. You're going against NFL guys damn near week in and week out, and I forget the exact numbers. You might have them, but he played a lot of coverage out there by himself a lot, and didn't mess up. That's a lot of opportunity out there for anything to happen. You can fall asleep on any play. Anybody can sneak behind you one good time, and for just that not to happen, playing in the Big Ten, on a very stout defense. That Illinois team almost knocked off Michigan. That was our biggest scare of the year, had us back against the wall. Needed every play that we got that game. And a player like him, watching his highlight tape, he had a few plays versus us. And seeing that and then putting a name to the face afterwards, I do remember those plays. I mean, he was a player that stood out. So that's the first guy on my list. Next, I'm gonna kind of speed it up through here, but next would be Joey Porter Jr., another Big Ten guy. Found out in the research that his dad played like 13 years in NFL for the Steelers and other various teams. Scout linebacker, I believe. So he has that pedigree. He had 11 pass deflections, an interception this year. Also played in the Big Ten, and just I think another very solid player that realistically will probably be sitting there at 18. So I think if you take a good look at him, bring him in, really study that tape, I don't think he'll disappoint. But that's a guy. He growing up around the NFL, he clearly knows what it's about. I don't know this personally, but I'd imagine he's probably about his business with his dad being an NFL guy. Played Big Ten football, so I think a lot of positive there. Lastly, for my first round guys, I have Cam Smith out of South Carolina. 5 pass deflections, an interception. Everything I read about him in the tape I watched, very similar to Witherspoon, and everything says physical. He comes up, lays the wood, moved around, played a little bit of. They said, from what I read, they said he moved around a lot, played some safety a little bit, played some other spots. So a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, which is never bad to have a guy that's comfortable moving around, doing things that you never know when you'll be put in an awkward spot in the NFL or just what you're used to seeing. So that's not something that scares me away. And
football player, football player,
right? And another guy that I will probably be sitting there. And if we're gonna give the Big Ten guys credit for playing NFL receivers week in and week out, we for damn sure got to give the SEC guy a credit for that as well. He definitely played an NFL guy every week at receiver. So call it what it is. I think we'll have to definitely take a look at him. So that's my first round, guys. As the time goes out, obviously this might adjust and change, but I think I don't know if any of those. I think all three of those guys are NFL starters for years to come. And more or less kind of safer picks. I watched a lot of good tape on them. So
right, yeah. No, that's a good call. I'm right there with you. I mean, I won't. I think the only difference I have is just my third guy is Khalid Ringo from Georgia. For some reason, right now he's kind of like in that second day, like early second round side of things. But I'll dive into him a little bit. But I do just want to touch on Devin Witherspoon. I mean, I was laughing until you last night. Like Pro Football Focus literally had his play style as just a dog. I just think like that just fits like Detroit, mentality. Especially like going down the stretch. I felt like they were just literally like the big bully on the block that just wanted to be more out physical you, just out tough you, and like you hit it on the head. Like you before Michigan, I'm like before they played Michigan, I'm like okay, that's cute. Illinois football, like heard about Kirby Joseph, but they got some guys in that secondary apparently. He made quite a few plays. I've seen him. He's been looking at highlights. He's been blowing up screens left and right, just not scared to come hit people. That's something just in a cornerback position overall. You kind of can, some guys like to come up and hit. Other guys want to kind of stay back in zone and coverage. But more than anything, my favorite stat about him is that he had 560 out of 738 defensive snaps were played in man coverage. So did the math last night, about 75% of the time he's on an island. In that situation, when you're in college and you got guys, coaches basically telling the offense like don't even look his way. Every opportunity to be lazy or not stick to your keys and get a little bored to maybe get beat over the top. I mean, he shows that he has that discipline to be able to stay on his man and just make sure this third of the field is going to be shut down. Nobody's coming over this way. Right. My second one is number 2 is Joey Porter Jr. We watched him, match up against Marvin Harrison Jr. I saw that, I don't know the exact number, but he basically only gave up about 50 yards on like 70 coverage snaps to Olave, Wilson, Njigba, and Marvin Harrison Jr. When they played them, that span of 3 years. And 2 of them guys, one of those guys, Marvin Harrison Jr. will probably be top 3 pick next year, just calling it what it is. 2 of them guys got drafted top 10 last year, and another one was probably going to be drafted. Njigba probably going to be drafted first round this year. So love the pedigree. You know, when your daddy played in the league for so many years, you know what the process looking like. He got, in my opinion, he probably got a leg up on everybody at the combine, pro day, all these meetings, all these teams. He just understands, you know, he's gonna understand how to carry himself and everything. So I feel like just from a maturity standpoint, he might be, you know, a little ahead of the game from when it comes to that. And SEC guy, you know, or excuse me, Big Ten guy. I'm tripping. Big Ten guy. He's already seen, you know, some top talent. Ohio State, their wide receiver, you know, factory. He's, you know, shown that he can play against essentially pros at the next level already. So, a third guy, I already kind of talked about it. Khalid Ringo, I do feel like once, you know, they go combine, throwing their gear, start running and everything, doing all the routes and stuff, and coming in coverage at the combine, I think that's where he'll start to creep into that first round, maybe into like the middle of the first round. I don't think we necessarily need to like reach, you know, for him, just kind of based on where he's at now. But like, you know, we'll see what happens at that time, and you know how like the scouts and everybody feels where he should really actually be at. Because I'm with you. I don't think that unless somebody comes out and just blows things away at the combine in a few weeks, I don't really, based on what we need compared to, you know, what like these guys are kind of ranked at right now. I think you definitely got to address D-line, that top 10 pick. You know, there's rumblings about us trying to maybe move up and get Carter, you know, guarantee us getting Carter or Jalen Carter. I just think that, you know, where we're at, you know, as a defense, that's got to be the first selection. But I love to see that there's so many other corners that we didn't even discuss, you know, that are going to be available day 2, you know, early day 3. So it's, you know, pretty optimistic on where this class is looking at so far as we start to kind of dive in on this research.
Yeah, no. So I think this is an interesting little thing here. So I have Ringo as the top of my second round, the first dude on my second round. So I think that's just basically. I do think he's a guy that can. I think the last like any of these last couple guys could really, like, depending on how the combine goes and how the interviews, could really swing from, you know, like that 17 to, you know, 34-ish range, you know, just depending on how the dice falls, and a few things like that, you know. So no, I agree with you. And I think he's a guy that's kind of getting beat up now a little bit because people say he got exposed. And I think, you know, I don't want to say it happens, but, you know, that's something that you come out, knock the dust off. And, you know, one bad game doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get burned. I think so.
It's Marvin Harrison Jr. So
yeah,
it's
right. Yeah. So I agree. And it's one of those things where you know, you kind of get it's similar to receiver where you got to have a swag and an aura about you to even kind of go get that back there in the combine. So I agree with you. He's right in that mix for me as well. I think he's good. I think he's a good player. So I agree. And I don't know if you want to go first. So for the second round guys, but I just want to say that that Ringo was on, you know, top of my list for that second round. So I think we're right on par with that.
Yeah, no. So I think when it comes to second round, one guy I got a couple here for you. One guy I'm really big on is Eli Ricks from Bama. He's got a little bit of injury issues. That's probably why he's like early day 2. He's a 5-star when he first came out. He actually ended up going to LSU as a freshman and then ended up transferring to Bama as a junior, which is kind of crazy.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So when he was at Bama, he was a little banged up his sophomore year. He was on 224 coverage snaps, and he only gave up 77 yards or 19 targets, 6 catches, and 77 yards. So that just shows me, you know, he's one of them guys that just clamp down on people and, you know, could be in a scenario where we just need like a third of that field is locked down to where, you know, just make it easier on defense overall. Like they just know that they can't go this way, you know, if this guy is over here. So I like him quite a bit. My next guy I like quite a bit is Emmanuel Forbes. We talked a little bit about him before we jumped on here. Ball hawk. Pro Football Focus, they literally listed him as a like route jumper. Don't always love that. You know, I showed he likes to gamble a little bit. Yeah. You don't, you know, that's probably
wrong place, wrong time. That's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure as we start to dive in, I'm gonna try to, you know, find some of his lowlights. You know what I'm saying? As we kind of get deeper into this process, I'm sure he's probably given up a couple couple deep balls here and there just from trying to, jump that out route. Maybe a half a second too slow to get to it. So all in all, though, I mean, he picked off 14 passes in 3 years, and took 6 back for touchdowns. So that shows me he's getting the rock. He's finding a way to score. Just an athlete. Just getting that ball, turning into an offensive player.
That vision, yeah.
Yeah, finding his way to the end zone. So that's somebody I'm a pretty big fan of. And then another guy, Garrett Williams, with Syracuse. I know it's basketball school, but for what I've seen, definitely would be worth, taking a look, from a day 2 standpoint. Another guy, unfortunately, came off an ACL. I mean, we show that as long as guys are, got it in here and got that heart and, feel like they're a good fit.
Yeah,
we show that we'll take a swing at, guys that, might be a little banged up coming out of college. The 2 that we took a swing on, they ended up working out pretty well for us. Didn't play a ton because of injuries, but, you hope that they can, come back next year and, do better. And it was a Pascal, I think James Mitchell, the tight end. They both coming off ACLs out of college and still ended up being rather productive in their own right. He's one of these guys, and he played, saw some solid talent in the ACC. It's really formidable, solid starter. I think that's somebody they can definitely be good for them to take a look at.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do have a preference, and it's kind of an off-the-wall question, but I'm reading a lot of these articles. The new big thing they seem to talk about is a big corner. He's 6'2". He's 6. Like, do you have a preference on any of that, or you don't really like if you can like coverage skills? Yeah, no. I was just, like I wouldn't be more opposed or less opposed. I just like I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if necessarily I'd be more sold on one guy over another just due to that. Like, I don't know. It's kind of
I mean, I feel like
to a certain degree. You can't be like 5'6" out there, but it's like
right. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it don't scare me away. I mean, Witherspoon's like 6'1", 180, but he play like he's 6'3", 210. You know what I'm saying? So like, Ringo, I think like, ideally, like everybody love maybe had their corner be 6', 6'1", but I just feel like at this point you can just stay in front of somebody long enough on third down. We can get off that field on defense.
Yeah,
I don't care if you're 5'8", I don't care if you're 6'6". No, but I don't really think for me. I don't think I have a preference. What you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I don't really have a preference either. It is kind of intriguing, like,
the
idea of, all right, if we go up against fucking Justin
Jefferson,
Metcalf, or Metcalf, we got old boy out here 6'3" to, but I don't necessarily think it would sway me one way or another. But it's interesting that I feel like maybe I just haven't done my research, but I feel like it's more of a selling point now than I'm used to hearing. But no, I agree.
I kind of chop it up to just like the over analyzing. Just people just be, they don't talk about all the highlights and the lowlights. Now it's just like, well, this guy now I think he's too short, or he might be a little overweight. So, but I feel like for me, no preference either.
No, I agree. So once again, I mean, I just on top of my second round here was Ringo. I'm a second a lot of stuff you said. I think he's solid. And then going in after that, I'm gonna go Deonte Banks, another Big Ten guy. I feel like I'm very, very, very obviously Big Ten heavy. But back to the dude, just reading the article, every article, guaranteed you can find it in the first 2 sentences. It says something about him being 6'3", 210. So or 6'2", 210. So I just it is kind of intriguing. They talk about how he had a lot of special teams plays. He had a couple extra point blocks, punt blocks in his career. So he's a playmaker. Did a lot of similar things. Talk about how physical he is. Once again, just somebody I'm familiar with. Watch a lot of Big Ten football. That Maryland team was somebody that intrigued me, for lack of a better term. But I don't even knowing. I guess we technically watched them live. But just another person I'm familiar with. And so I really only had 2 for my second round. Not that I don't think other people are worthy. I just think I
think that's what we need to target these players. Like the Lions, they need to, these guys is who they really should ideally be trying to go after.
Right.
With that 33rd, that 55th pick. I think he's like, I feel like personally, obviously, Holmes will do his thing and maybe grab a guy in the fifth or sixth round that might have
Mhm.
some to him. But I think these are like that.
These
That,
are
that
more. These are more.
pick in
Yeah, sure.
second day,
Right.
surefire, bona fide, got to take one.
I agree with you on that. And then the second, I do have three or more people on here that I think are, um, that I have as just later round guys from everything I can
Okay.
tell. One of them, I actually had never heard of, and I don't know, I don't know, maybe you have or whatever, but I don't know if you have any later round guys you want to rattle off first, but obviously I have DJ Turner on my list. Um,
I did too.
yeah. So I think obviously we're very familiar with him, and I think I'm safe to say they had him listed everywhere I read, like third, fourth, fifth round. I think that dude is an NFL guy.
Yeah.
He, he's good.
Speed.
I think he comes back another year. He's probably moving on up to some of these other conversations that we're having with some of these other guys. So
Yeah.
no, but I agree. And so another guy, he played at South Alabama. His name is Daryl Luther.
Okay.
He had 4 interceptions, 10 pass deflections this year. I guess he got invited to the combine. You can pull up Twitter highlights. He seems to be locking up a good amount of people, like some big name, decent sized Big Ten, SEC type of guys. And then I have seen a few tapes where he got his hips turned around a little bit. But guys that I guess throughout his career they just stopped throwing his way in college. So his stats would be through the roof if he was getting more action. So I guess that 4 interceptions and 10 pass deflections is on very limited action towards him. And I guess I forgot what conference that is already. I was the Sun Belt Conference. I guess they just stopped throwing his way altogether.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting dude that'd be there in that fourth, fifth, sixth round. That I'm not scared if you take a flyer on them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anytime somebody's so intimidated, they just stop throwing your way. That there's something to that. So
Yeah.
and for them not to throw his way and end up with 4 picks, that's also kind of impressive. So
Yeah. No,
um,
I'm liking because I had looked at kind of the big board of just all the guys this week, and I just like the numbers that I'm seeing. For example, like one guy that I had, Clark Phillips from Utah. Um, I I like Utah. I watched them quite a bit this year because they just kind of remind me of they're like the Pac-12 version of Michigan. They just very physical on defense, and yeah, I mean he was an anchor. He was a guy you just heard his name all the time on defense. Not scared to come up and hit. Little smaller, 5'10", 185, but for me it's really he could be. I think he'd be a solid nickel corner. Come in when they put him on somebody in the slot. And at some point last season, he had 5 picks on 49 targets. So he really, is making sure people not, they're not playing when they come in his way. So yeah, had him and also Turner. I just feel like Turner, he gonna test very well. Probably run high 4, low 4.3s. Was on a top 10 defense the last couple of years. A pivotal player. Just in that Michigan turned around that culture, just turning everything around the last couple of years. So I feel like he'll be a good fit for whoever decides to take a flyer on him in the later rounds.
yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I agree. And then lastly, a name that I once again another Big Ten dude, no surprise here.
Yeah.
But a name that I clearly caught my eye for various reasons. But a dude that I do remember throughout his career, and his name is Max Melton from Rutgers. I seen him. He's a cornerback. They had him listed as a fifth or sixth round guy. But just looking, uh, this year he had 3 interceptions, 6 pass deflections. Um, I think another little surprising guy. He seems to be once again on the bigger side, but a Big Ten dude. And another guy that I wouldn't be afraid of throwing a flyer at. One of them later rounds. I think you bring as many guys into this camp, create that competition atmosphere, and
Yep.
and see what sticks. But
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, but that's a good call. I'll be honest, I started getting later into the rounds, or as far as just some of the research. I kind of just ended up tailing off after DJ Turner and Phillips because I feel like personally I'm it'd be cool to kind of get one later rounds, but I'm hoping that Holmes' plan is
Yeah,
to
yeah. I agree.
more top end to because I would like ideally we'll definitely dive into this as we get later on into the year, but I like I feel like you can always kind of find a sound linebacker, them later rounds and stuff too. Kind of how we found Malcolm Rodriguez. So yeah, no, I think like I said, a lot of solid talent in this draft as far as corners. You got a lot of I've been looking at a lot of different corners. Some are better in zone, some are better in man. I think personally, we can find us a couple guys that can play a little bit better in man, or not predominantly playing more in man coverage. I think that'll just fit, what we're trying to be as a defense. I feel like we're trying to be a defense that's aggressive, getting pressure on the quarterback. So now we need guys on the back end that can hold it down for a second or two for us to either get home or, for them to be able to make a play on the ball, whatever that kind of looks like, overall. So
I agree, and well-rounded. I think every dude we named has a kind of a common thread, and that's they can have run support, step up into the wood when necessary. We all obviously are clearly leaning towards physical dudes. I mean, we're going to be beating the shit out of people if nothing else. So,
right. A lot of legal contact. A lot of legal contact penalties. Yeah, Witherspoon, he might. Yeah,
I can see him resign Owarie. So yeah, keep him.
Right. Yeah. Right.
No, so no, I think this is the recipe for I think we joke about it, but you put us at the helm for a couple of years, and I think we'll, if nothing else, have the nastiest fucking defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where you lean into, and looking back, obviously, I'm trying to relate it to modern news here, but both of the teams in the Super Bowl here, yeah, they got sexy offenses and all that stuff, but when it come down to it, them defenses are stout.
Crazy.
And watching the Eagles, that defense is impressive. And watching Kansas City, intercepting Joe Burrow twice, getting sacks. They had to get sacks. I think that is as sexy as the offenses are, and Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes and all that. I think they're sitting at home if they don't have them defenses. Year in and year out. Last year with the Rams, they're sitting at home without Aaron Donald.
I was going to even say just another nugget to that. The Eagles, I mean, they got Ndamukong Suh. We know him very well. He might be on the way to getting a second ring in 3 years. And then they got another guy, Linville Joseph, that was a very stout D lineman, played for the Vikings quite a bit. They picked him up out of free agency. Their D line got so stout where they had all like Pro Bowler Brandon Graham, Michigan great. He was essentially coming off the bench, and he had 11 sacks. They had 70 sacks as a team last year.
No. Hey, I was literally just random as fuck, but I was talking to this dude at my job. We were talking about the Eagles, and he was like, I didn't even know Sue was on the team. And I was like, yeah. We looked it up. Sue, they got Sue list as a third stringer.
Yeah.
Obviously, but I mean, yeah, he coming in fresh as hell.
Yeah. 20, 30 snaps.
With one other. Yep. No, I agree. So that's exactly what we want. We want that rotation of Jalen Carter and Hutch and whoever else we can sign in free agency. And, I think we just rotate.
Pascal, McNeil, Brockers.
With these cornerbacks and Tracy Walker back, I think that's the recipe for success. So, no.
Yeah.
You got anything else for the peoples?
Oh, that's all I got. I think we'll next week, we'll try to jump in, start talking more about D linemen, dive into there. Linebackers, we'll probably, majority of the time, probably be staying on more of the defense side of things. I personally feel like that's where we really need to focus more of our attention. But yeah, it'll be good to start just kind of break down, some of these highlights, lowlights for different players, and just understanding, how they may fit into the system.
So you're gonna get mad when I say we got to do tight ends, and I'm gonna
put. I'm not gonna do tight ends. You can do that by yourself. Come on, Mike Mayer, all you want to.
Mike Mayer with the 6'6", bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I got a feeling this. Think about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, we'll be back at you next week, man. Peace.